Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. You're very welcome to our review show, and we're looking back at a ton of action from over the weekend. All four codes were due to have games this week, but of course the hurlers was postponed. They were supposed to go to Breffni Park in Cavan, but it was postponed due to the weather. The football, in terms of the men's and ladies, both went ahead in a double header on Saturday night, while the Pogues got their campaign up and running for 2025 on Saturday as well. There was hurling action in the minors and under 20s, so we'll touch on all that on today's review show. But we're going to start with the Armagh and Mayo game that took place on Saturday evening, and the two sides couldn't be separated at the Boxit Athletic Grounds, and it turned out to be a cliched game of two halves in Saturday's first game of the doubleheader. Despite leading by 8 points at half-time, Armagh needed a late free from Conor Turbot to earn a point. Mayo had the final chance of the game to seal the victory, but their goalkeeper Colm Reap dragged his shot just wide of the posts. It means Armagh aren't exactly clear of relegation at the minute, with 3 games left against Dublin, Kerry and Derry, and they'll be huge in that regard, and we'll touch on that more after a brief roundup of the game. So the team swapped scores at the start of the game, with Turbot matching Owen McLaughlin's effort. Jordan Flynn and Ross McQuillan exchanged pointed efforts before Andrew Mernon put Armagh ahead. The game's first goal then arrived on the 15-minute mark, and it gave Armagh a 4-point cushion. Rory Grugan done exceptionally well to keep the ball in play along the end line, and he found captain on the night Paddy Burns, who buried home the first goal of not only the day, but his first goal for Armagh as well. Rory Grugan and Ryan O'Donoghue cancelled at each end of the field before Oisín Connery got off the mark with his first point of the game. A fisted Jason Duffy effort was followed by an Ethan Rafferty point, while Conor Turbot also split the posts as Armagh hit a real purple patch. Rory Grugan slotted over a free while Mayo grabbed their first score in 17 minutes, with Jordan Flynn raising a white flag. Ryan O'Donoghue added another while the half finished with an outstanding sideline score from Conor Turbot, which arguably should be worth a 2-pointer, but the hooter had gone, so it was really a shot at nothing for Turbot, but an unbelievable score from the sideline, and that gave Armagh a good lead at the half-time break. They led 1-10 to 0-5. Paul Towie and Matthew Ruan claimed scores for Mayo at the start of the second half, but they were cancelled out by an Ethan Rafferty 2-pointer at the other end. Ryan O'Donoghue and Ross McQuillan chipped in with scores before Mayo captain Stephen Cohen kicked a huge 2-pointer that kept them in the game. Rory Grugan put Armagh 7 points up, but when Niall Grimley received a black card and a 10-minute spell in the sin bin, the game flipped on its head and momentum switched in favour of Mayo. Kevin McStay's men hit the net soon after, when Armagh were down to 14 men, and it was through a neat finish by David Neary to bring them back into contention. Ryan O'Donoghue and Matthew Ruan added scores for Mayo before Rory Grugan offered a brief response for the Orchard County. Goal scorer David Neary levelled matters, while substitute Aidan O'Shea and Ryan O'Donoghue saw their scores cancelled out at the other end by Stephen Campbell and Conor Turbot, meaning the sides finished all square. The draw leaves Armagh and Mayo both joint on 3 points after 4 games. Armagh are just above the relegation zone at the minute, ahead of Tyrone, who are on 2 points after their defeat to Kerry, and Derry are at the bottom of the table with 1 point, having tasted defeat in Croke Park to Dublin on Saturday night. At the minute, as I'm recording this, Donegal and Galway are going at it in Salt Hill, but that game doesn't really impact Armagh. Both teams have beaten Armagh, and they're really bottling it up at the top end of the table. So a couple of big weeks coming up for Armagh, with 3 huge games against Dublin, Kerry and Derry coming up. On it's Dublin next week for Kieran McGeeney's men at the Boxit Athletic Grounds. That's next Saturday evening, with a throw-in time, I think, of 7:35. Just keep an eye out on all social media pages to see if that's confirmed during the week. But just on the Armagh and Mayo game, Armagh had a lot of different scores on the night. I think there was 9 different scores for Armagh on the night. Conor Turbot and Rory Grugan both hit 4 points. apiece, while Ethan Rafferty chipped in with 3, including that 2-pointer that we mentioned earlier. Paddy Burns got his first ever Armagh goal on Saturday night, and it was a special night for Paddy. He was also the team captain, with Aidan Falker still out through suspension. Ross McQuillan was one of the stars of the show. He got 2 points, while Andrew Murnan, Oisin Connolly, Jason Duffy and substitute Stephen Campbell all claimed a point apiece as well. Ryan Donoghue got 6 on the night, while David Neary hit the goal for Mayo. He got 1-1. Matthew Ruan, Jordan Flynn, Paul Towey, Stephen Cohen and Aidan O'Shea were the other scorers for the Mayo men on the night. So that was the first of a double header in the Boxhill Athletic Grounds. The second game was between Armagh and Mayo ladies as well, and Armagh added to their impressive start to the National League campaign as they picked up their 4th win on the trot at the Boxhill Athletic Grounds and proved too strong for Mayo, winning 2-14 to 110 in the end. 2 sublime Niamh Henderson goals, 1 in each half, were the key scores for the reigning Division 1 champions. And while Mayo hit the net themselves in the second half through Saoirse Lally, it wasn't enough to turn the tide significantly. The sides were evenly matched early on as Blahin Mackin and Eve Lavery both exchanged pointed efforts with Brie Hession. Sinead Walsh then put the Westerners ahead briefly before Niamh Coleman levelled things up for the home side. A brace of points from Maya Feehan kick-started Armagh's scoring spree, and they added further points from Blahin Mackin and Niamh Henderson. A Niamh Reel double was split by a Niamh Lavery free before Mayo got their first score in 13 minutes through Kayla Doherty. Any hope of a Mayo revival was quickly washed away, however, as Niamh Henderson lobbed the visiting netminder to drive Armagh further in front. Captain Lauren McConville grabbed the final score of the opening period, with the Archer County leading at half-time by 10 points, 1-11 to 0-4. Aoife Garrity got Mayo up and running after the break before fullback Saoirse Lally raised the green flag to close the gap to 6 points. Armagh substitute Kiva McNally swung over her first score of the night with her first touch, but it was cancelled out at the other end with Maria Cannon hitting a point for Mayo. TG4 player of the match Niamh Henderson nailed another fantastic goal, while the impressive Aoife McCoy got her name on the score sheet to extend the gap to 10 points. Ciara White hit 2 on the bounce for Mayo, while a second from Kiva McNally split final scores from Brie Hession and Rihanna Jordan. It's Kildare up next for the Ulster champions, and they'll once again enjoy home advantage next Saturday, and that game is in Crossmaglen. Armagh will be keen to continue their fine form in Division 1, and they'll hope to push on and reach another Division 1 league final and hopefully a league title. They're currently at the top of the league, having been the only team that have yet to taste defeat. Meath were joined with them all along, having won their first 3 games, but they were beat on Sunday by Kildare. A bit of an upset there. So Armagh are now they're no longer joint at the top of the table. They're clear league leaders, and that's a massive win for Kildare. So that's a huge game for Armagh coming up next week. In terms of the scores then, as I mentioned, Niamh Henderson was the player of the match. She got both goals on the night for Armagh and chipped in with a point as well. There were a lot of players finished with 2 points to their name, including Blahin Mackin, Maya Feehan, Eve Lavery, Niamh Reel and Kiva McNally, while Lauren McConville, Niamh Coleman and Aoife McCoy all scored a point apiece. For Mayo, Saoirse Lally was the goal scorer, while Brie Hession scored 3 points, and Ciara White, Aoife Garrity, Maria Cannon, Sinead Walsh, Kayla Doherty and Rihanna Jordan also got on the score sheet for Mayo. Camogie then, and the Armagh Camogues suffered a 10-point defeat in the opening round of their Division 2A campaign against Meath, losing 2-11 to 0-7 in the end. Just 3 points separated the teams at the half-time break, with Meath ahead 0-5 to 0-2. The home side netted twice after the turnaround to claim victory on the day, and it's Carlow up next for the Archer County, and they will enjoy home advantage next Saturday afternoon, although a venue has yet to be confirmed for that game. In terms of the scores for Armagh, Rachel Murray was the top scorer on the day for PJ O'Mullen's side. She got 4 points, all from frees, while Sinead Quinn hit 2 and Niamh Falker was Armagh's other scorer against Meath. On to hurling then, and while the seniors were called off and their trip to Cavan postponed, the minors claimed their second victory of the year against Tyrone at a blustery Garvaghey on Sunday. 3 first-half goals were the key for the Orchard County, who were the best team on display. Kizzy Hughes' men lost to Derry on the opening day, but bounced back last week to beat Donegal at home. That was a 116-7 win. This Sunday's victory sees Armagh finish third in the table between the four teams. They're joint on 4 points along with Tyrone and Derry, but the pair finish above Armagh due to their better score difference, which means Armagh miss out on a league semi-final spot, which was disappointing for the young lads. Armagh only scored once in the second period, but had done enough inside the opening 30 minutes to win the game. 8 points was the difference at the break, and although Tyrone fought back, it wasn't enough to impact the final result. The Red Hands made a brilliant start to the game with Rory Woods finding the net inside the first minute, but that didn't shake Armagh, and they responded brilliantly with James Hamilton firing over a point before Conor McKeever raised his side's first green flag. Just 5 minutes later, McKeever had the ball in the net once again, and suddenly Armagh were looking really comfortable. Conor Lappin slotted over his point of the day, and he swapped scores with Tyrone's Woods. Cormac McErlane pulled one back for the home side, but it was matched straight away at the other end when Lappin struck a 65. Armagh hit a third goal then, this time from full forward Hamilton, while a second 65 from Conor Lappin saw the Orchard County lead 3-4 to 1-2 at the half-time interval. Tyrone's Owen Mullen exchanged pointed efforts with Conor Reynolds at the start of the second half, and that turned out to be Armagh's final score of the day. The Red Hands claimed 1-2 on the bounce in the final 20 minutes, but Armagh hung on to win by 3 points. The Armagh under-20s suffered a second defeat in their Ulster Shield campaign when they played Tyrone on Saturday at Garvaghey. The Red Hounds proved too strong on the day and saw out a convincing 6-16 8 win. So just on the minors, then Conor McKeever was the top scorer in their 3-5 to 2-5 win over Tyrone. He got 2 goals, both coming in the first half. James Hamilton also hit the net in the first half, and he finished with 1-1, while Conor Lappin slotted over 3 points, including 2 65s, and Conor Reynolds also got a point as well. So that's our quick roundup of all the action this weekend. We'll be back on Thursday, and we have a special guest coming up with a preview to the Armagh and Dublin game, which is going to turn out to be huge now, given Armagh's position in the league table and Dublin's position as well. So we're looking forward to that. I'm recording that on Thursday evening, so that'll be out hopefully at about 6 o'clock on Thursday evening. And make sure to keep an eye out on all our social media pages for all things happening in Armagh. The club season is just around the corner too, and we'll be covering it as usual with our build up over probably the month of March, and we'll be back with our podcast, of course, once that the league season takes off. Our usual club focus on a Saturday morning. So make sure to follow us on all our social media pages, the Sideline Eye on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow us on Spotify as well if you listen to your podcast there. If you watch the YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll chat to everybody on Thursday.